1, 2, 3, 4.
Something happened in a session I had with a leadership team 6 months into their AI rollout. The executive in charge said all the right things. She told her team that AI was an opportunity, not a threat. She said nobody would lose their job. She created open door meetings for questions. She did everything the leadership playbook says to do. And her team stopped talking to her. Not loudly, not dramatically. They just went quiet. Fewer questions, fewer ideas, shorter meetings, polished answers with nothing real underneath them. She came to me confused. She said, I do not understand what I'm doing wrong. I am being transparent. I am being available. I'm doing everything right. And I asked her one question. How do you feel when you walk into those AI meetings? She paused for a long time. Then she said, honestly, like I'm holding my breath the whole time. Like I need to look like I have this figured out, even though I genuinely do not know if any of this is going to work. And there it is. That is what we're talking about today. You're listening to AI Cafe Conversations. I'm Sahar Andrade, Neuroleadership Coach and Forbes Coach Council member. And today we are going into something that is destroying team trust on AI teams right now. And if you're wondering, this account or this client that I'm talking about was a pharmaceutical company. I had some comments that came to me asking why I don't share the name of the executives and the name of the accounts that I work with on the podcast. And actually, I really cannot do that. We sign agreements, NDAs. I can talk about the case as a case study, but I cannot mention any clients by name, either the organization or the executive I'm working with, for privacy purposes and laws and privacy laws that protect all my clients. So I want to make that very clear. I will never mention a name of an organization or a name of an executive, but I will use whatever I do as case studies in anonymous way. So I just wanted to bring that to the surface. But they're all real cases that actually happen during my work with executives and organizations. Okay. Going back to what we were doing, what we were talking today is what is destroying team trust on AI teams right now. And it has nothing to do with your communication strategy. It has everything to do with your nervous system. So, what is the crisis? What is actually happening to psychological safety right now? Let me give you some numbers first. BCG 2026 AI at Work survey found that 41% of regular AI users report increased cognitive load, not decreased, increased. Charm found that 61% of workers trust senior leaders when it comes to AI conversations, but that number drops to 47% among individual contributors. That was Charm, SHRM. That gap between what leaders think they are communicating and what teams actually feel, that is not a messaging problem. That is a nervous system problem. And the HBR, the Harvard Business Review research that came out in October of 2025, made it even clearer. Middle managers, the people directly between executive AI strategy and frontline team anxiety, report the lowest psychological safety of any layer in the organization. The lowest. Not the most junior employees, not the most senior leaders, the people in the middle. The ones responsible for translating AI decisions downward, managing team, fear, hitting productivity targets, and still showing up steady. Think about what that means. The person your team looks to for safety during an AI rollout is the person who feels the least safe. And here is the part nobody's talking about. The nervous system is broadcasting that. Before they say a single word, before the meeting starts, before the slide deck even loads, their body is already telling the room something, and the room is listening. What is the cost of that? What the brain actually does with a leader's nervous system state. Here is what is happening at the biology level. You have neurons in your brain called mirror neurons. These neurons activate when you observe someone else's emotional state. Not when you think about it, when you see it, when you hear the microtone in someone's voice, when you notice the slight tightening around their eyes or the way their shoulders are sitting. Your brain literally mirrors what it detects. Brain Physiology and Anatomy 101. This is why emotional contagion is not a metaphor, it's a measurable neurological event. Research shows that a leader's cortisol levels, the stress hormone, are measurable in their team members within minutes of shared interaction. You cannot hide your nervous system state from people who spend significant time around you. You can hide your words, you cannot hide your biology. Now add AI to the combination. A leader walks into a meeting about an AI implementation they do not fully trust. They feel the pressure of being accountable for outputs that cannot fully verify. They are aware at some level what their team is watching them for signals about whether it's safe. Their amygdala, the brain's threat detection system, registers this as a complex social threat. The stress response activates, cortisol rises. The prefrontal cortex, where nuance, judgment, and empathy live, starts going offline. Kaput. And the leader tries to look calm while the nervous system is in full scanning mode. The team feels it. Their amygdalas register it. And they make a rapid and conscious calculation. If the leader does not feel safe here, this is not a safe place. Psychological safety does not collapse because of bad communication. It collapses because of unregulated nervous systems. And here is what makes this specific to AI. BCG found that leaders are now spending more time managing and directing AI than doing the actual work itself. Nearly half of respondents. The burden has shifted from production to supervision. Leaders are in continuous verification mode, checking outputs, reviewing results, staying accountable for things they cannot fully control. The nervous system reads this as threat is ongoing. Stay alert, do not relax. That chronic low-grade activation never gets discharged in a meeting. It just transfers. Leader to team, team to team, layer by layer. This is what I call a nervous system cascade. And it's happening silently in organizations everywhere right now. Let me tell you what it looks like on the ground. A director I worked with was leading a team of 12 through an AI process overhaul. She was competent, genuinely skilled. She has navigated hard transitions before, but this one felt different to her. She told me, I feel like I have to look like I know where this is going, even though the reality is the goalposts keep moving and I'm figuring this out as I go. Within 3 months, two of her strongest performance had gone white. They stopped bringing ideas. They started double checking everything before they shared it. They became cautious in a way they had never been before. She thought they were disengaged. Actually, they were not disengaged. They were reading her. Their nervous system had concluded this environment requires vigilance. Pull back, stay small, do not take risks. This is psychological safety collapse. Not because anyone was unsafe, but because the nervous system of the leader could not send a clear signal. You are safe here. So, what is the solution? Okay, I always want to make sure that you have a solution or a way out, or at least a beginning of a conversation. So, if you want to continue the conversation with me, either comment down on the podcast or send me an email at saharconsulting.com. I would love to engage in a conversation with you. Either you agree or disagree, we can have a good conversation about that. And if you want to be a guest on the podcast, please let me know. Our podcast is one of the top 2% global podcasts ranked. I just want to make sure that the guests speak about AI, human-centered AI, and how it affects human beings. Not in a technological way, just in a human way. I would love to have you as a guest. Just email me again at saharconsulting.com. So let's look at the solution. What regulated leadership actually does for team safety. Here is what the research shows. Psychological safety increases team learning behavior by 35% and team performance by 27%. That is Google's Project Aristotle data. I'm just not giving you figures that I just made up. Whatever research I share come from credible sources. So psychological safety increases team learning behavior by 35% and team performance by 27%. Again, Google Project Aristotle data. But here is what Project Aristotle did not fully capture. Psychological safety is not built through ground rules and speaking norms. It's built through co-regulation. Co-regulation is the biological process through which one nervous system helps another calm down. It happens through tone, through pace, through facial expression, through the quality of presence someone brings into a room. When your nervous system is regulated, the people around you feel it, not metaphorically, neurologically. Research on the polyvagal system, the part of your nervous system that governs social connection and safety, shows that humans are constantly reading environmental signals for cues about threat and safety. The primary signal source in any team environment, did you guess what it is? It's the leader. You are a thermostat, not a thermometer. A thermometer reads the temperature of the room. A thermostat sets it. Every leader is setting the emotional temperature of their team. The question is whether you're doing it consciously or by default. Here is what changes when a leader regulates first. The team's threat detection system receives a totally different signal. Not danger is here. The leader is not panicking. This must be manageable. This is what a team perceives and feels. So their prefrontal cortex stays online. Their creative thinking stays available. People speak up instead of pulling back. Ideas move and flow instead of getting suppressed. That is psychological safety. Not a cultural program, a biology outcome. Now I want to be very clear about something. This is not about performing calm or woo-hoo out there and sit on the floor for an hour for meditation. Though meditation is great, but that's not what I'm talking about. This is about the difference between suppressing your nervous system response and actually regulating it. Suppression looks calm. The team still feels it underneath every single time. Regulation is different. Regulation means your nervous system has actually moved out of threat mode and into a state where you can think, connect, and lead. The body does not lie. It just gets very good at broadcasting the truth before you do. In my work with leaders, I use a framework called BRAIN. BRAIN. I'm not going to walk you through all the 5 parts today, but I will tell you about the first one because it's the one most leaders skip straight past. The first piece is not a communication tactic. It's not a mindset shift. It's a physical reset that has to happen in the body before any of the rest of it works. Most leaders try to fix team trust by saying better things, closing and choosing the right words, getting the messaging right. But your nervous system does not wait for you to find the right words. It's already broadcasting before you even open your mouth. So the first move is not about what you say. It's about what state you are in before you say anything at all. That one shift, just that first piece, changes how an entire AI rollout conversation goes. Not because the leader got smarter, because the leader got regulated first. So the B is actually for behavior. I will not unpack the other 4 here. I will do it subsequently as we go through the podcast. But that first one alone is worth sitting with. Leaders who do this stop trying to perform steadiness. They start actually building it. And here is what happens when we build regulation as a practice instead of performing it in the moment. You start to become genuinely honest with your team about uncertainty, not performing transparency, actually being honest. And that changes everything. And here is the neuroscience of honesty under uncertainty. And whatever we share here is based on neuroscience. It's not something that I just make up as we go. And it's just, of course, it has an opinion, but it's based on the roots of neuroscience. So when a leader says, I do not have all the answers on this AI rollout, and here is what I'm going to figure it out, something happens in the listener's brain. Oxytocin releases. Oxytocin is the trust hormone or the trust chemical. It reduces threat perceptions. It's actually what we call a team building chemical or hormone. It increases cooperation. It creates bonding. It makes people feel safe enough to bring their real thinking to the table. The leader who admits they are navigating uncertainty does not lose credibility. They actually build trust. And the nervous system level, not the communication level. Now I know that some of you are thinking, listening to this, this sounds like a nice theory, or yeah, right, you know, it would, if it was that easy, everybody would have done it. But I have a board meeting in 2 hours and a team that needs answers I do not have. I cannot just go regulate my nervous system and hope that fixes it. This is what I get as pushback sometimes. So let me push back at that, because it misses what I'm actually saying. I am not telling you to feel calm when you're not, just like, yeah, go zen and you, that by miracle you're gonna feel calm. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not telling you to fake serenity in front of your team either. And I'm not subscribe to fake it till you make it. I'm not there. Both of them are performance. And performance is exactly what your team's nervous system can detect and reject. What I'm telling you here is different. The leaders who hold psychological safety together during chaos are not the ones who have no uncertainty. They are the ones who have learned to be honest about their uncertainty from a regulated state instead of a panicked one. That is a skill, my friends, and that is trainable. It's not about fewer hard meetings. It's about walking into the hard meeting with a nervous system that can stay present instead of one that is silently broadcasting alarm. That is one more piece. And I'm going to add another one. The leaders I see maintaining psychological safety through AI transitions are not the ones with the best strategy decks. They are the ones who do three things consistently. First, they regulate before they lead. They do not walk into high stakes AI conversations still carrying the anxiety from the last meeting. They create intentional transition, a walk, a breath, a pause before the door opens. And again, I got pushed back on that. It's like, well, if it was that easy. Well, it's actually that easy. What you're doing, you are interrupting a cycle. By going for a walk, a breath, or a pause before the door open, you're giving your brain the space to reset. And our human brain physiology and anatomy are very easily distracted. It's as easy as pushing a reset button on a laptop. It resets itself. It has to become a habit, a trigger that we create so we can reset our nervous system before we walk into a meeting. Second, they make it safe to not know. They model uncertainty as information, not failure. They say it out loud. I don't have this figured out completely. Here is what I know. Here is what we're still learning. And what I hear from a lot of my clients is that I don't want to appear weak. I don't want to appear like I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm not going to ask for help. And I'm not going to say I don't know. And this is being vulnerable is actually your biggest strength. Saying, let me figure it out because I still don't know, and I'm figuring it out with you, is what actually create the foundation of trust and psychological safety because you are truthful. Third, they stay curious instead of certain. In ambiguous situation, certainty performed is a threat signal. Genuine curiosity is a safety signal. The brain registers the difference every single time. None of this requires a new leadership program. It requires a regulated nervous system, which is exactly what my brain framework is designed to build. Not thought, process, not through insight, through practice. So let me bring this home. Psychological safety is not collapsing on AI teams because leaders are saying the wrong things. Psychological safety is not an emotion, it's a state. They're not words on a website or an MOU or on a guideline or even an ROE. It's collapsing because leaders are carrying AI uncertainty in their nervous systems and their teams are absorbing it. Mirror neurons do not read your slide deck, they read your body. You cannot train your way out of a nervous system state. You have to regulate your way out of it. When you do, something shifts for your team. Not because you said something different, because you became something different in the room, and the room felt it. That is the work. If you're leading a team through an AI transition and you recognize what we talked about today, I want to have a conversation with you. If you want to be a guest on my podcast, email me. 30 minutes, no pitch, just clarity, where you actually stand and what your next move can be. The link for the book and the show notes. Thank you for being here. Share this with the leader who is trying to hold it together right now. They need to hear that what their team is feeling is not a trust problem, it's a biology problem. And biology has a solution. I will see you on Friday on the article, Forbes article, like short form of our podcast. Before I leave, as I always say, show me some love. Comment, rate, subscribe, share our podcast with someone else. Thank you for supporting us and making us one of the top 2% global podcasts out there. I love you and thank you for your support. Till we meet again.
1, 2,